Fairway woods are a great weapon for many golfers, but a lot of people just struggle to get them in the air. Firstly, let's have a look at what you are using. The reason that these clubs are so good is because they have this big, wide sole. It allows weight to be positioned a little bit deeper back in the head and allows it to slide underneath the ball a little bit easier. It's also better for most golfers to have a shallow face. Now, a shallow face, again, will allow players to get the ball up in the air a little bit easier. What you don't want to see with a fairway wood is for the top edge of the fairway wood to be higher than the golf ball, because that would be a very deep club face. If you imagine where a driver is up here, that's why that is an exceptionally difficult club to hit off the ground. Loft is also very important. Now, most people will have a 3-wood, but I actually advise a lot of golfers now with modern equipment to probably switch into something like a 5. It's a little bit more loft. It should technically go less distance, but with modern club technology, often golfers find when they switch that they don't really see too much of a drop-off if it's a new club. Even a combination of more lofted woods can be beneficial. A 7-wood, for example, even a 9-wood. Honestly, these clubs are so versatile and, if used correctly, so easy to get up in the air. The shaft of the club also matters, so if you are getting fitted for a fairway wood and you do struggle to get the ball up in the air, try and get something with a low kick point. This will help fire that club into the ball a little bit more and maintain loft, therefore hitting the ball that little bit higher. So onto the technique that you can use to try and add that little bit more launch into the air. Everything that really matters with a fairway wood happens here at impact. Because the ball is on the ground, we want to try and move away from the temptation to try and scoop at the ball at impact. The temptation to try and help the ball up into the air. This movement of leaning back at impact, it really does need to be consigned to the scrap heap and never seen again. We want this club to be entering impact on a nice even angle of attack, or even slightly down onto the ball. But we don't want to be making this movement steep and down onto the ball, because at the end of the day, there isn't a lot of loft on a fairway wood, and if we do attack the ball like that, it is going to shoot off low and it will not get the desired shot that you want. So we want the club to be more shallow coming through impacts. We want to have a motion through the ball of sweeping it off the surface. Like I said, if the hands get slightly ahead and we do get a little bit of a descending blow onto the ball, that's fine, but we don't want this. We want more of this type of action through, that sweeping of the golf ball. So setup is important to get yourself in the position that you want to strike this ball consistently. Now, because it's a fairway wood, because it has one of the longer shafts, we want this ball positioned more towards the front of the stance. Now, an easy way to get this position is if you start with the feet together pointing at the golf ball, take a tiny step with the lead foot, take a bigger step with the right, you will know that that ball position is inside that left heel towards the front of the stance. This allows you time and room to try and get that ball swept. We need to try and keep a consistent setup with the spine angle, so we don't want to get drawn into leaning over this golf ball. We want to have that slight tilt away. This might make people feel a little bit nervous because they feel they're getting further away from the golf ball, but it's fine. Trust me, we are going to get back to impact. Strong posture, want that little bit of room away from the legs as well. And this setup is going to allow you that turn and that load behind the ball that we need with a fairway wood. We don't want this swing to be short. We don't want it to be timid. We want it to be wide, sweeping away and loaded onto the right side. Again, don't be tempted to stay on the left. Turn behind the ball and get ready to sweep. Take your fairway wood, I've got a 5-wood here. I'm going to grip it a little bit further down the shaft for some more control. I'm going to start with the ball position just inside my left heel, but I'm only going to take the club away with a wide takeaway to about this point here. I'm then going to try and move a little bit on the inside of the ball, so a little bit shallow, and just try and sweep the ball off the surface. So just pop it up and down. So what's that, 5 wood? That's flying about 140, I think it was. 120, only out by 20 yards. It's not like I'm a professional golfer. And if you can get that feeling of just sweeping it away from a slightly shallow position, you can see how it's just popping up in the air and then chasing down towards target. You will notice here within my hand I have a tee. And let me just say that this is a drill which is so simple and yet so effective. I'm just going to pop the tee peg in the ground so there's just a little bit of it showing above the surface. And honestly, this sounds so simple and it sounds so silly, but I promise you this really does work. All you're going to be doing is taking your fairway wood, getting in that setup position, having that turn, feeling like we're having that little shallow, moving through the ball, trying to sweep the ball off the surface. And your only goal here is to try and clip that tee peg out of the ground. Now, the reason that this works, the reason that it is so important, is by simply clipping that tee peg out of the ground, what it allows you to do is control low point. And that's what a fairway wood swing is essentially all about. It is just controlling how that club moves through impact. And if you can clip a tee peg like this, if you're at a driving range on a mat, you can put one of the smallest tee pegs in there, and you're able just to clip the very top of it, you are then able to control low point. So when a ball is popped in the place of that tee, all you're trying to get the feeling of is clipping the tee peg. As mentioned before, if you do want a little bit more control here as well, there's no harm in gripping down the club a little bit, just giving a little bit more room here. This will shorten the overall length of the club and make it a little bit easier. Something which is also going to make it easier is if you continue your swing quest here and check out further videos on how to get your fairway woods up in the air. Haha.